Welcome to God Crimes Pod with Danny and Maya.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Maya.
Woohoo!
Same as last week. Love it. Same as next week. I can see into the future. Danny, thank you for being here again with me in our home studio. Today, I wanted to ask you some questions about your personal experience. I wanted to get a little bit more into what being in the Jehovah's Witnesses was like for you. So anyone who's just starting to listen now, Danny was born into this group. It's a high control group, extremist religion. Some could say a cult. I have heard recently that it's not technically considered a cult if there's like a certain number of members, but that doesn't mean they don't have cult-like tendencies. So
yeah, cult-like practices. I would say that's absolutely fair.
And I love the term high control group because it really does explain and describe very accurately what we're dealing with here. So I wanted to know, Danny, what are some of the reasons why people get involved in this group? And what were some of the reasons why your family got involved in the first place?
All right. So a lot of people get involved in the Jehovah's Witnesses for two reasons. Number one, they're born into it, which is the vast majority of the people that I knew. And two, very few are people that are contacted in the field ministry or the door-to-door work. And of the people that I've seen, it's always situational. Like the only people that find their way in the group or kind of fall into the revenue stream of the Jehovah's Witnesses are people that are in a vulnerable situation for one reason or another.
Vulnerable people, yeah. That was my sense as well. And like when you were going and knocking on doors, because you did a lot of that, that's like a requirement, a required activity of the group.
Yep, that's right.
Was there something that you guys were trained to look for or put more effort into? Were there certain types of people that you were kind of like more excited to see because you thought there was a higher chance of maybe getting them to join?
Yeah, absolutely. So one magazine article I'll never forget, I'm pretty sure it was an Awake magazine, and there was a depiction of like an angel flying above the street, and like it's like the camera's over his shoulder looking down like bird's eye view, and the angel can see into this person's house, and this person is like on their knees like praying, and like the context is that they're in grief, like they just lost someone in death.
Yeah.
And then the angel also sees that there's witnesses walking down the block. So like it's really open and shut. We are looking for people that are in a vulnerable situation where they're not thinking as they normally would, because we don't want that at all. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like another thing that Jehovah's Witnesses will do is they will look up obituaries in the newspaper, and they will figure out who like died recently and like try to contact the families of people that have died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They will also like cruise. They will cruise cemeteries, driving by, looking for people that are at headstones, grieving their loved ones that have passed away. And will go out and approach these people and say, hey, have you ever wondered if you would ever see your dead loved one again? Straight up.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever done that?
I haven't done that one because I thought that seems like a bit much.
Yeah, like it's interesting how even when you are born into the group, brainwashed for your whole life, there are some people who, you know, will still have moral quandaries and moral qualms about doing certain things over other people. I find that always very interesting, like how you have always been such a good person that even when you were in the group, you were still making overall like positive choices and trying to be a good person, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
I remember that you mentioned sometimes they'll go to funerals, or like if they do know someone who is attending a funeral, like they truly do view death as an opportunity to gain new recruits, which is obviously taking advantage of grieving people. Morally, a huge issue. But they, of course, see it as something positive because they're saying, hey, you might be able to get your loved one back. You might be able to see your loved one again if you join our group. Although you have to follow all of our rules, you have to stick to our structure very securely and firmly and give your whole life to us. But if you do it, you might be able to see grandma again or whoever.
Yeah. One of the biggest examples of that is if a person goes to a Jehovah's Witness funeral, because it is, if the whole thing is 30 minutes, 25 minutes is the sales pitch of, oh, so-and-so believed in a paradise earth, and here, I'm going to hold up your dead relative's Bible. Like, let's all go to the verses in it that we interpret are going to be, that we interpret as promises that they're going to be alive again. So make sure if you have any questions, make sure that you talk to one of Jehovah's Witnesses before you leave the Kingdom Hall where we're hosting the funeral.
Instead of respecting the dead person and talking about their life and their achievements, which is what you would hope would be what happens at a funeral, something beautiful and, hopeful and positive and like sharing lots of stories and memories about the loved one, it sounds like that's not really what happens.
No. Like I said, that ratio is probably, if it's 30 minutes long, it's like 5 minutes about their life and then 25 minutes about just kind of a sales pitch and just like, here's what this person believed, and then just get into it.
You can really see from this example just how much this group cares about the individual and the individual's life. Very little, right? They care about their mission. They care about their group. They don't care about each individual member.
Correct, Amundo. I would say every person that is a believer is a little alternate reality node, reinforcing the delusional beliefs. And that's kind of the currency of the group. And so if someone does not do that, then they don't have any value to them, as I firsthand personally experience. Even after, just a lifetime, no big deal, just a lifetime of
no
loyalty.
Big deal. A lifetime of loyalty rewarded with, you question the group? How dare you? You are not a part of the group anymore because there isn't a care for the individual, which is one of the reasons that it's so toxic and so abusive.
Big time. For any Jehovah's Witnesses that are listening to this still in, one thing I would definitely want you to know would be that the moment that you give up believing, or the moment that you have a very fair critical question of the group, your loyalty, even if it's lifelong loyalty, that will be repaid with contempt. There will be an immediate blaming of the person, even if they have a sincere question, and they do not care about you any longer, no matter what.
They don't care even if your question is sincere. Like the story that you've told me, and actually, would you be willing to tell that story now of when you went and had that question before the elders?
Yeah, for sure. So I had a meeting with the elders. It was many months of stressing about it, and I finally found myself in the chair in the little library room at the Kingdom Hall with two elders. And I was like, guys, listen, I just have this question. As we all know, I'm sure we've all seen the little movie based on the Proclaimer's book. And in the little movie, they promote a speaker series called Millions Now Living Will Never Die. Mm-hmm. And this speaker series was in like 1909, 1910, something like that.
Oh my.
I asked them, this would have been mid-2021. I told them, I was like, so everyone that was there for this has died. Literally every single one of these people. Like, it's a virtual certainty because this was 110, 111 years ago, whatever it may be at the time. And I was like, this just doesn't feel right to me. Like, how could this have happened? Like this, they said this and Jehovah's Witnesses were wrong. Explain that to me.
Yeah, very valid question.
Yeah, it was just like stressing me the fuck out. And I went there with an open mind. I was like, there has to be some explanation. I cannot think it. I can't think of it because I've been worrying about this. Elders, the people in authority, go. What do you have to say?
Yeah.
And the very first thing that came out of this elder's mouth was, where did you find this information?
To which you're like, this is just public information. Like, this is in the church. It's not even like a third party information. Like, this is a speaker series that happened within the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, this was their speaker series that I swear to this day, I found that little nugget in one of their own propaganda videos that was pretty recent. Like, in terms of JW timelines, it was probably like 15 years ago it came out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Which is very recent and,
Yeah.
So like pretty astounding. It was incredible, just the turnaround from, like, there wasn't even an attempt to reason with me, convince me. It was, oh, you must have heard about this from some evil outside third-party source of information, which is a big motherfucking no-no. Like, when he said that to me, it was very clear that he was blaming me for knowing that. And It's like my brain had gotten infected by poisonous information. And like, he treated me like I had a disease, like in that moment. Like, it was so interesting. The look in his eye, the tone of his voice, the way that he was like, where did you hear this? And that's, like, it was so just obvious. He was immediately done with me, this person.
It reminds me of if you like catch someone cheating on you and you're like, hey, like, I just read these texts that you sent, and they're like, how did you see that, you evil?
You must have invaded my privacy. No acknowledgement of their behavior. Yeah, it's exactly like that. It is exactly like that.
And you're like, hold on, I was coming here with an issue I had with you. But it gets it's so manipulative. It gets just turned on its head, and now you are the bad guy immediately.
Yeah, it was astounding how it was an immediate, just my lifelong loyalty in that exact moment. It culminated in being repaid with contempt. And it blew my mind because, like, I was genuinely expecting, like, okay, we're probably going to have like 3 or 4 more in-person meetings. They're going to be like, that's really interesting. You know what? I don't know, but God must have a really good reason for this. Or, oh, maybe those people at that day, like, they kind of overreached, when they shouldn't have. Or, as Jehovah's Witnesses, as a matter of policy, we never say when Armageddon is going to happen, even like to the point where we won't even say, oh, it's definitely going to happen within our lifetime.
Yeah, like they just make something up.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Armageddon's the end of the world has never happened one time ever in the history of mankind, and it will never happen.
Yeah.
Ever for the history of mankind. And the problem is that their bullshit caught up to them because it's been over 100 years. It's been over 110 years. So
dang it.
Damn it.
Honestly, it just reminds me of, we were just watching an Office episode where Michael Scott promises a bunch of third graders to pay for their college, and then 10 years pass, and now it's the time, and he's like, oh no. Dang it, all those years passed? It's the same storyline. They just figured, there's a good chance that within the next 80 years, Armageddon's going to happen, right? In 1909. Well, here we are, 2025, and we are still waiting. Clock is still ticking.
Yeah, God damn it. It's so... What's really interesting was I was sure that there would be some attempt of explaining. But something that I've learned about groups like this, and this kind of behavior pops up in other, like, really poisonous ideologies. In my little book club that I had for a brief period of time, someone in the book club was like, hey, I want to read the Turner Diaries. And for anyone that doesn't know, it is a right-wing lunatic conspiracy, laden book that is basically a how-to manual to, like, start a violent revolution, basically.
And it's incredibly racist and sexist and all those things too, right? Yeah,
absolutely. So here's the thing, like, this is considered one of the most dangerous books in the world. Like, it led to the Oklahoma City bombing, so it has a reputation, right? But if you open the book and you try to read it, you would expect to be persuaded. You would expect, oh, this person must have a very compelling argument. They must have very seductive language, or they must have some ability to convince people to do something. And amazingly, the book presupposes you're just like a racist, misogynistic piece of shit. There is no attempt to convince the audience in it. And thank God I did not finish it because it was just a waste of time.
Sure.
That became so clear to me. And so when I went to the elders saying, hey, like, help me understand this, I inadvertently discovered that the Jehovah's Witnesses made a falsifiable statement just because of their arrogance and their, foretelling did not come true when they said it was going to come true. Like, this wasn't even an example of a specific date. Oh, this is going to happen 1974 or 75. This was a proclamation of like, everyone now living will never die, or excuse me, millions now living will never die. And they all died. So what was amazing, there wasn't even an attempt to explain that to me. They, as soon as they realized that, oh, I don't believe this unfounded claim of the religion, they're like, oh, this person is hopeless. There's nothing that they can be done. But yeah, I found it quite insulting. No attempt to reason or persuade me.
I think that's outrageous. It seems, well, it speaks to two things. It speaks to how much they expect just unbridled, unquestioning loyalty. So the second, the very second that you came in, even with an innocent question, that you were probably happily going to accept whatever answer they had, especially if they molded over and talked to you. And like, you were coming in as still a loyal, committed member for the most part, and trying to get some answers. And instead of working with you in order to respect you and keep you in the group, they just immediately kicked you out, which really just speaks to their overall disrespect for each individual member, their disrespect for all the work, the hours, the free labor, the toll that you had spent your whole life up until then. But then also just how deeply afraid they are of anyone asking a question that they're not supposed to. They have to maintain rigid control at all times.
Yeah. And so the only thing that they could do in that moment was to just like treat me with that contempt as like a power play, because it was the last amount of power that they had over me, I guess. Like, that's kind of the only thing that makes a little bit of sense. I knew in that moment that they were done. And honestly, that did save me a bit of time, because I would have heard them out if they're like, you know what, this is going to take us a month to really get into it. We're going to need to meet, once a week for 2-3 hours. I would have been like, all right, I mean, I'll see what you have to say. But yeah, no. I knew in that moment, I was like, they're done with me, and they don't have a answer to my very simple question. And so that was the moment that I was like, okay, I'm done completely. And I'm going to tender my letter of disassociation, which most people do not do. Yeah.
That was like the straw that broke the camel's back, or
Absolutely.
what they say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, at that point in time, I had kind of basically deprogrammed myself over time. And again, listening to podcasts.
Wow.
Podcasts that would cover the tactics that other cults use. And I would realize, oh shit, like a lot of the like gross, disgusting shit that the Mormons do, the JWs are doing. And I would just see like, I would listen to like silly, kind of more sillier episodes about cults and stuff, like maybe Heaven's Gate or the People's Temple.
Yeah.
And I would see like elements of like, oh, ooh, that's kind of like what we do. I don't like that. But yeah, slowly over time, these bits of critical thinking nuggets would, in the illustration that I like to use, would be rested like a weight on a termite-ridden shelf of my belief system, because even though it's a belief system, it's holding up, it is ridden with damage because it is fundamentally unsound. And so after enough time, I had all these things built up. But one of the biggest ones was like, here is a straight up claim that the witnesses made. Millions now living will never die. And it did not come true, and it had no possibility of coming true. And I was just like, guys, help me understand this.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of the first time, first or second time I'd say that I like went to the elders, the people in charge of the congregation, and was like, okay, I'm asking you for your opinion, your expertise. Also, I understand that this is like a challenging question, like for me to even ask this question is a big deal. But I felt really good knowing that it came from my experience and it came from the literature that I have seen in my lifetime. It did not come from an outside source or, quote apostate literature, in their mind. Or, which another term for that is third-party objective information,
Yeah,
which they are absolutely terrified of.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. But when I asked them that, it's like I was like, all right, here I've spent my life doing this. I've spent my life promoting this, evangelizing this, constructing kingdom halls, doing Bible studies, regular pioneering, auxiliary pioneering, talking to kids in school, which is fucking a nightmare, but I did it. I fucking did it. And I was like, okay, so I've done all this. All I'm asking is for you to answer this question in good faith.
Yeah.
And it was very clear that I was coming to them in good faith. And there's just no other phrase that I can use than how they responded to me, which is they repaid my lifetime of loyalty with contempt.
That is so well said. And it really clearly to me shows the abusive, manipulative, controlling nature of the group. Because it just reminds me of so many abusive relationships that I've heard about, seen, been in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. It's a similar dynamic to a one-on-one abusive relationship. Unwavering loyalty with no questions, or you're out.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is no respect for the individual. Yeah, I'm grateful that they did that and that you didn't have to waste another month going and talking to these people. But also, I mean, my heart hurts for you because it's like at bare minimum, the people that are devoting their lives to this group deserve to be treated with some level of respect. And they don't even get that.
Yeah, exactly. A piece of advice that I've heard that I very much find to be true is you can judge someone with how they respond to criticism.
Yes.
And that was pretty much the first time that I, in a way, kind of brought up criticism to the church. But the way that I brought it up was hey, I have this thought in my head based on the stuff I've read, learned about internally, and it's just really bothered me, but it contained a tiny, tiny fraction of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they responded. And so anyone out there that might be a J-dub, or just anyone that's interested, think about that for a second. That's how Jehovah's Witnesses respond to criticism, even just the tiniest fraction. And that tells you everything you need to know about them.
Yeah. So we were talking about the kinds of people that are more vulnerable to being pulled into a group like this. And now, first of all, I do want to say that anyone at certain points in their life can be vulnerable to being pulled into groups like this. I mean, we know, when we look at high control groups and cults in general, you'll have people from across the board, different ages and classes, different life experiences, and people can be manipulated and coerced into joining high control groups. So it's false to think, oh, you have to be stupid, or you have to be, poor, you have to be certain judgment factors on people that do end up getting pulled into groups, especially when you've got large percentages of people that are just born into it, or that have family members pressuring them to join. But there certainly are certain times in a person's life, certain characteristics and experiences that people can have. Specifically, I would say trauma, mental health problems, financial challenges, grief, like we talked about earlier, when someone's in the grieving process. All of these things can contribute to someone being in a more vulnerable state and seeking comfort, seeking outside answers to some of life's existential questions. And those people are ripe to being manipulated into a group like this.
Yeah, entirely. People that are in situational vulnerabilities are the people that fall into stuff like this.
Yes.
And that is absolutely true in my case. Something that I've noticed is that there has never been a single doctor that was one of Jehovah's Witnesses in all of my experience.
Fascinating.
And I've met thousands and thousands of witnesses.
Think about the factors that it requires a person to have to get to being a doctor. You have to have a certain amount of support system, support network in the first place to encourage you to go to school, to help you pay for school, right? And then the amount of years of being in school requires a certain amount of support as well.
Yeah, there's not a single witness that I've ever known that held a job that required a lot of mental acuity or, a lot of, just stuff like that.
Education and schooling, because they don't encourage that. It's not that these people were not capable of getting an education, but they wouldn't have been exposed to it. They wouldn't have been encouraged to do it, and they wouldn't necessarily have had a lot of access to it.
For sure, for sure. So what kind of people did I see that would be contacted in the territory in the field ministry and then come in to the group? That would be people that are always struggling one way or another. So a couple people that I knew right off the top of my head, there was this young guy named Luther. He's from Texas, and he came up to Butte, Montana. And his situation was, as it was explained to me, that he did a lot of drugs, not sure exactly what ones, but his mind was kind of just like fried. His brain had just gotten totally fried. And he was housing insecure, this young fella, and struggled to find a job. And just as it happened, a witness came in contact with him. And I think he was just like in just a situation where he really wanted to talk to someone, and he was just feeling super lonely. Like he never lived in Butte before, but like he was shuffled up here somehow. And he started coming around the Kingdom Hall and the meetings and stuff like that. And it was just really obvious that this young guy from Texas was not doing great in life, and he was just kind of there because these people would kind of tolerate being around him, I would say. And he was a handful, old Luther. I gave him lots of rides, all the time.
That's kind. Loneliness, huge factor, and that speaks to grief as well. Like when we have grief, we also have a certain amount of loneliness because there's a part of us that is missing this person. We have this need for community. It's a very natural human need to have people that support us and that at least act like they love us around.
Yeah. People will trade reinforcing a silly delusion for community or human contact. Even if it's kind of not a great community, you still technically are around other human beings, and we have that social need, and that is being filled. That is one of the things that churches have to offer.
The social need is so strong, and also tribalism is so strong. When you feel like you are a part of a group, and like you are welcomed in the group, and like you are safe in the group, it is almost an addictive feeling. Like I've experienced that as well. It's this feeling of, wow, like I really belong here. They want me here. And it's pretty easy, especially when you don't have an alternative to that that's healthy. It's easy to kind of squirm around and look to the side and kind of ignore all the red flags, all the things that aren't really working for you, because it just feels so good to be in a space with other people who are saying how happy they are that you're there. It's very compelling and very addictive to be in that kind of environment.
Right. Absolutely.
And one thing that the church does as well is a lot of love bombing. So there's a lot of,
oh, that's huge.
Wow, you're so special. Oh, Jehovah called me to you, or whatever it is. I'm sure they have lots of lines.
Legit. We are absolutely trained to love bomb people. Like like during a meeting, say 20 minutes before, you're supposed to keep your eyes out for everyone who walks through the door and identify people that you've never seen before, people that especially might be new. And you want to try and figure out, like, if this person is setting, their foot in the Kingdom Hall for the first time, you are supposed to go over there and bombard them with, hey, how are you? It's so great. I'm so glad you're here. Like, really just gush over people and, like, literally love bomb. They instructed us to do that all the way up to the point without calling it love bomb.
Of course.
Yeah. Huge deal.
Because it works really well. It's a very effective tactic. It feels good. What human person doesn't want to be showered upon with affection and care? And a listening ear and eager eyes. I mean, we all desire that, but when we've had an experience of being toxically love bombed, which is what that is, because it's not because you genuinely like that person.
Nope, not at all.
You're doing a job. You're trying
You're
to
doing a
manipulate
fucking
them.
job. Yeah. You're just trying to just flood them with dopamine and just feelings of camaraderie and human interaction with zero substance or reason for it. Like, one thing I will say for the JWs is that they train you to be like an active listener. You know, to like listen to people when they're just talking at you at the door and just like, wow, yeah, great point. Let me tell you more about this scripture. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so interesting because like active listening is a good skill, but typically you listen to like then have a response that has something to do with what the person just said, you know, but like for them, it's just like, okay, engage in active listening just so you can make them feel like they are being listened to. And that's a big deal. Yeah, as opposed to like doing that for any real purpose or substance. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Active listening. Yeah. For the purpose of making that person feel good, not to understand them.
Oh yeah. Not at all.
Ears open, mind closed.
Oh, that's right.
Are there any other stories like Luther of vulnerable people that you remember being manipulated into joining the group? Just specific examples.
I remember a guy named Tom who was an older guy and had a lot of difficulty speaking. And again, just kind of a vulnerable guy. It seemed like, again, an unhoused guy, you know? And he ran into one of the witnesses and he was just kind of like, he tolerated them coming around repeatedly. And that's kind of how the preaching works. Like if anyone is not actively telling you to go away or to not come back, they will come back. Mm-hmm. So if you ever run into a Jehovah's Witness, pro tip, say, put me on your do not call list. I do not want to be contacted by you ever again.
Unless you are trying to contact them so you can get secret information out of them. Just kidding.
The good thing about that is that you don't have to. I know all their secret information.
That's true. This is so much preferred to trying to go to meetings and talk to them and get something out of them.
Oh, waking nightmare, everybody. You do not want to do that. Trust me. There was a guy named Royal who was kind of a character. He was a cool black guy, a little bit older. And he had like cool hair. He had like dreads, I think, but he kind of put him up in a cool way.
Nice. Yeah.
He was in touch with his heritage. And I have no idea what even made him interested in the witnesses, but he was like the more kind of like normal guy that I've seen.
Interesting.
That was just contacted and then kind of came in. And I think it was because he had a Christian background and he was interested in like the Jehovah's Witnesses take for whatever reason. And I remember a big sticking point was his hair. Like he had this cool hair that had something to do like with his heritage. Like it was in the style of his ancestors or something like that. And it was culturally significant. And the witnesses wanted him to just have a buzz cut just like everybody else. And so they like, these two older people in our hall, they just dumped him. Like he was actively interested. He was going to the meetings and he went for like probably 6 months or something. And that's kind of the timeline that the witnesses have. If you go for 6 months, if they're like spending time on you, spending energy on you, inviting you to functions, you know, going out to lunch after church or whatever, if you do not conform around the 6 month mark, they'll just fucking dump you. And that's what happened to this poor guy.
It sounds a lot like an abusive relationship. Just a normal, like, wait, so we're not getting married, or you don't believe me when I say you're my soulmate or whatever,
It's like, okay, I have this picture of you in my head. And if you don't cut your motherfucking bangs within 6 months, this is fucking done. I don't care how good of a person you are. That's like what they're doing.
And how do they dump people? What does that mean? Like,
so they just quit going around their houses. So they are return visits is what they're called. Okay. And so when witnesses are out in the field ministry, they will go to this person's house on a regular basis, usually weekly. So they will just quit going And then if they are like texting this person, because that was a thing before I left, was like trying to get people's phone numbers and like text with your calls and shit.
Oh no.
Or return visits. And yeah, they would either just ghost them, or they might even say, I think most witnesses will probably say something like some kind of corporate-y spin way of, you know what, you're just not, I'm not seeing you making the changes that you really need to be making, so we're not going to spend more time on you / with you, whatever.
Got it.
Just come to it at your own pace, or like if you want to make changes, just give me a call. So that's pretty much how they do it. Yeah.
So that guy would have been allowed to come to meetings still with his hair that way.
Yeah, like
Maybe.
he wouldn't have been barred from entry, but no one would study with him, right? Because like witnesses fancy themselves as theological experts, right? And what they do is, step 1, they meet someone who does not tell them to go away in the field ministry. Step 2, they return on a weekly basis. Step 3, they offer to do a Bible study, which can range from like 15 minutes to like an hour, 2 hours every week. And like if they commit to like that discussion, that usually evolves into going through 2 books. The first one is like, what does the Bible really teach? And then secondly, the God's Love book. And like you have to study the entire book with these people, which means like you spend time like reading the chapter before they get there, and then they show up at your house and they read this propaganda chapter with you, and then you like go over it, and it's always question and fucking answer.
Yikes.
Oh my God. So the thing of it is, it's question and answer. So they tell you the questions to ask, and then they give you the answer, and you're supposed to just parrot it. You're just supposed to say it back to them, and that's acceptable to them. And they take that as, okay, you believe what we're saying because you're intellectually surrendering and you're not asking your own questions, really. And you're just like regurgitating the answers that we give you.
You are intellectually surrendering. That's the goal.
Yep.
Wow. Not actually thinking something through.
Nope.
Coming to
Definitely
your
not.
own opinions about it.
Nope.
Just, hey, you said that sentence the way we wanted you to.
Yay!
Wow. Yeah, that just got even clearer to me. That and I have to say that whole explanation of all the Bible study, it sounds like a horrible, creepy version of like an after school. I don't know. Like in my brain, I'm getting a combination of like that senioritis feeling of like where you still have a bunch of homework, but you don't want to anymore. It sounds terrible.
Yeah. Pretty actively bad. Oh my God. Like people these days, you can learn something interesting. Go fire up YouTube. Check out Crash Course on world history or something.
Crash Course is amazing.
Yeah,
Highly recommend.
you guys check that stuff out. If you have not, do so. You'll thank yourself. And do not let the Jehovah's Witnesses come by and waste any of your time reciting their propaganda. Don't do it, peeps. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Thank you, Danny, for sharing just some of the ins and outs of the getting in and the never getting out. Of why people join this group and how people are manipulated into it. And I just want to reiterate that really anyone can have a vulnerable situation arise that can make them more prone to being manipulated and being pressured into joining a group like this. So staying educated about it, noticing if any of your loved ones are starting to talk about certain things like this, or any group that's highly controlling or manipulative. Like we need to watch out for that, and we need to take care of each other and help protect each other, especially when people are going through difficult times in their lives. We need to make sure that these organizations that prey upon vulnerable people don't get hold of our loved ones.
That's right. Just keep them away from your mom. Keep them away from your friends, your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you hear of any of your friends talking to the witnesses, you just want to tell them like, oh, aren't those the people that have that Pillowgate thing going on? And then make them Google that. Or just like, yeah, just like share that. Oh, yeah. Aren't those that people that are like a high control group, or, they like control people's, behavior, emotions,
social life.
Yeah. I can't remember what T stands for, but like, yeah, information, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, bite model. Also check it out.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
BITE.
We're going to cover all these things on future episodes. Anything that Danny mentions, I'm like, ooh, tell me more. But yeah, it's just so important to protect each other from misinformation as well. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons that we wanted to create this podcast, was to highlight some of the things that are behind the scenes that show that this group and other high control groups are not innocent. They are dangerous and abusive, and they harm people all the time. And we don't want them to harm people that you care about.
Heck yeah, peeps. That's right. Keep an eye out.
Thank you so much for listening again today, and we can't wait for you to join us again next week.
Thank you so much for listening, you guys. I would say, once again, write into godcrimespod@gmail.com if you have any questions that we can answer. And especially for XJWs out there, please write in with your really weird stories of belief from your local Kingdom Halls. And there are always a number of characters in each of these Kingdom Halls that everyone has stories from. And I want to hear them. I want to hear them. I want to read them. I want to share them.
Thank you guys so much. We love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.